We are all about showcasing authors and supporting authors to become authorpreneurs. Natalie McQueen and Becky Norwood of Spotlight Publishing bring to you their Authors Spotlight and expert interviews. Success as an author hinges around well-thought-out marketing, which begins the moment you put your pen to paper or begin to tap the keyboard. Their expertise guides their authors to become #1 bestsellers, yet it doesn't stop there. The book establishes expertise, builds a business, and opens the doors to being seen, being read, and then being paid for their knowledge. Listen to this informative interview by Spotlight Publishing with Natalie and Becky.
Very good.
Okay.
Louise Blank, it's just such a pleasure that you are part of our author interview series. And we're just excited because there's just been such a lot of really, really good interviews we've been having. So we're delighted to add you to our mix. Do you have the cover of your book that you can show?
Oh, I'm very glad to be here today, and I apologize because I don't have any hard copies left. I thought about that, but she's going to ask me to show the book. It is available.
No worries.
Hard and ebook copy, but I'm sorry. I've got my other one I can show you. It's
well,
very
let me see. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to show you my picture. I had it up here already. I was all excited. I had it right here.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
and actually, it's like, there it is. Good. So this is the cover of your book, which I just totally love the cover. That is beautiful.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
So let me stop share. So this is, and I'll post that picture up when we get done. Louise Blank her articles have appeared in major Canadian and US magazines. She shared her experiences as a freelancer through articles published in Writer's Digest, Calgary's Writers Association, and the Saskatchewan Writers Association, and in television radio interviews with CBC, Homestretch, and Global Television. How awesome. As an instructor, she taught this course for 5 years and inspired many writers to believe they could indeed learn how to be successful freelancers. She also has 2 other published books, including Marigolds and Munchies, a local bestseller in 2017. Louise is also a corporate communications consultant and instructional designer. Awesome. Very, very cool. So tell us a little bit more about you and your journey to being an author and where your area of expertise is.
Okay. So for me, I mean, I'm one of those authors that started before I could even read or write. And when I was like 4 or 5, and I remember walking around the house, clutching books to my chest, sitting there with a pen and paper, wanting to write stories that were in my head, but of course I couldn't because I didn't know how to read or write. And then I got my sisters to teach me. And so it all began there, and it never left me. Like, I have been writing my whole life, putting it in drawers, throwing it out. What really motivated me was when I had my daughter and I went through a divorce and I didn't want to leave her. And I went, well, what can I do, right? What kind of work can I do from home? And I went, silly you can write. And I knew nothing. I dove right in, like, when it came to pitching articles to magazines, I was completely green. And I was very fortunate. I did have my neighbor who worked for one of the television stations, and she also freelanced. And so she gave me a couple of tips and tricks, and I started digging around for information, and I found there was a lot of information on what to do, but not how to do it, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of rah, sis, boom, bah, get out of bed every morning, get writing. But those technical know-hows, the way to research a magazine, the way to, come up with a good title to structure your query, a lot of that was missing. But I was a business person too. And so I think applying those principles to my writing helped. And so I did as much research as I possibly could about magazines, more about the magazines and where I was pitching the ideas. And the first 15 pitches I sent out, I sold 8, which was phenomenal because the odds were 1 in 15 at that time, and probably a lot higher now. But they all came due in the same month. And I went into complete freeze, right? But I got through it, and I just kept on writing. And so what brought me to the book was realizing that need out there to help people understand how to do it, like the real technical know-how, the nitty-gritty, everything from, you know, billing, talking to editors, you know, every little detail. So it's lots of practical advice in the book. And so I still do, you know, my freelancing. I do a lot of, for communications, of course, and marketing. It's all the internet, the blogs and vlogs and social media. All the principles, though, remain the same. You know, when it comes to how to grab readers' attention, how to keep it, it's the same. Whatever you're doing, that structure is universal. So that's where I'm at right now, is trying to help writers understand that those premises, those it's universal.
That's beautiful, because as I'm reading part of the other part of your bio, you were saying the book is for everyone writing articles, blogs, web content, and book proposals.
Yes.
Treasure trove of practical tutorials on organization, talking to editors, invoicing, sources, and submissions. That is so cool, because I know for myself, I work with a tremendous amount of authors and helping them in their publishing their books. And having being an author myself, I know the full scope of being able to write something with that flows and that makes sense. But there's all the other pieces, even, you know, in order for us to be successful as authors, anybody to be successful as an author, we need to be very active in our social media. We need to write our blogs. We need to, you know, all the marketing pieces that go around.
Yeah.
And sometimes, if you're very busy like I am, the thought processes and the sitting down in order and being able to be creative enough to, you know, it's quite a bit to do to keep up with all of that.
I totally agree. And when it's changed drastically, and let's face it, most of us writers are introverts. This is not our jam. Getting out there and doing all this. But I went into it at first, I was resentful, right? Oh, I just want to write. And then I went, you know what, that's just not going to do you any good. So I've embraced it like I embraced my writing. And what I found magically is it's very creative. And so it gets my juices going. And again, like some of the other things in that rugged process, it feeds the creativity if you let it. I mean, yes, it is time consuming, and you have to dedicate a certain piece of your time. Like, there has to be that balance, but it's necessary. It's inevitable in this day and age as a writer.
Well, I find you have to get into the writing zone, even if it's for a blog or even your social media. You have to get your head wrapped around what is it how am I going to attract my ideal client? Who am I trying to reach? All those little things, those little nuances that set you apart and make you the expert in what you do. So,
exactly.
Yeah. So what would you say to somebody that is thinking about writing a book or is in the process of writing a book? What words of advice would you share with them?
What I would share with them is that to break it down into chunks, because when you think of the whole project, the whole process, I believe that's where many writers get overwhelmed. And so anything that you do, so I'm very good at breaking down my tasks. And, you know, one of the things I've learned, a theme is very important running through your book, right? And to carry that thread all the way through, you carry your readers through. And it's being genuine when you're writing it. It's a really tough haul, because I mean, we're people pleasers, right? Sometimes we get so worried about writing what's going to please our audience or somebody out there. And you really have to peel back down. And when you go back to, I'm just going to write what is true to me. And by doing so, I will connect with my audience. Because people, it's when you're looking at, even when you're looking at a painting, I can tell the difference between a painting that's structurally correct and one that was painted from the soul. And a book is no different.
Oh, very much.
Right? So when you write with that genuine intention and don't go into it worrying about what the outcome will be, just be present for every word, for every paragraph, every line, every page. Just be there for it. And when you are, because the tension goes away. Because when you're tense and you're writing,
it doesn't flow.
It doesn't flow. It doesn't work, right?
That's right.
It becomes authentic and becomes real. Authentic and real, that's what I think connects readers more than anything.
I have a doctor I've been working with, and it's been a very slow process because what his goal is just to write the one book with 12 different chapters, because the 12 pillars of health. And what I found for him is that he was getting too scattered. He was just going all over because he wanted each of those chapters to become another book, which is beautiful. But in the same time, he was just like kind of going all over the place. And finally, he had a big blank wall when we were doing a Zoom call, and we were talking about, okay, right, we need to get this rolling, you know. So I had him, because he's a real visual type of person, I had him take the bigger Post-it notes and number them 1 to 12 and name what they were. And then down every idea, I said, every time you get something that you want to put into that chapter or into that book on that subject, put another Post-it note in that column, because he had enough room on his wall to do it. And then any of the supporting material, put a little box down there, a little file card or something at the bottom where you could just keep adding any of the backup material. And that's what finally got him to kind of hone in on that, where he wasn't scattered, because he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant, but he wasn't able to, it was losing the flow and the beauty of what his knowledge, because it was too big of a project for him to really sink his teeth into.
And people, when they are brilliant, they do have that explosion, and it's very hard to rein it in, I find, and keep the focus. You're right. And your idea of the sticky notes is fabulous. And they actually use that now in IT. It's called the agile methodology. And so a lot of that, instead of, like you say, having all these long written notes here and there, and he's very visual. So it'd be in his face all the time too, right? So that's but it's in little snippets, right? No,
and it really got his creative juices flowing, because then, you know, he could come in and because he was still seeing clients, he's still running a business, he's still doing all those things, running a full office staff. But as he walked by it, he would just kind of glance at it, and then it would give another idea for here and another one for that chapter over here. And now it's finally beginning to flow, you know, and he'll turn around even just, you know, from his desk and just kind of sit there and contemplate it. And now we see it coming together, because a 12-book series is a pretty massive project, you know. Yeah.
And you do have to have that organization. And again, I've been very fortunate in that, having that business background, I've done a lot of project planning, right? So it's second nature to me to understand you need a flow, you need to plot things out, and break it down to your daily routine, your weekly, you know, like breaking it down, like, what am I going to do today? And not to say I'm always rigid. There's many times I do just take it off the cuff, right? And I think as creatives, that's who we are. We're not in these neat and tidy boxes, and you need the balance of both. You need the structure, and you need to be able to let it off the leash once in a while and just plow into when that inspiration moves you, right? But a book without structure, I just finished writing doing a vlog on article structure, because what I'm noticing frequently now with the blogs and articles, because people have said, you know, that audiences want to engage with you, right? That's true, but to a point. And if I want to go in for a cookie recipe, I'm finding, you know, paragraph upon paragraph about why the person decided to write the recipe. I'm going, I just want to make some cookies.
Just let me have the cookies.
So you have to, when you make a promise to your audience, you need to keep that promise. You keep that promise by having that flow that that takes them through the book, takes them through the article, whatever piece, whatever content, you make a promise, you keep it. And that's why people continue reading, is because you come through on your promise.
Very much, and you captivate them when you have when you can do the flow. And that's where sometimes it's good to have, not just sometimes, it's always good to have several other eyes before you go to publish. It's very good to have a number of different eyes on the material,
Yes.
especially if you're not a seasoned freelancer, or somebody that writes a lot, but you have this vision for what you want for your book. Because I've seen it where people have not done that, and after it's published, after they have the book in their hands, they're going, oh my God, what did we do? And
when you're immersed in that project, you're right, you lose your objectivity.
You do, yeah.
And so one of the things, the tricks, because I am very much a lone wolf a lot of times, right? And I've tried sharing it, and sometimes people aren't always willing to really, I want them to dig in. I want you, come on. And it's just lovely. It's just lovely. But I want critiquing, right? So what I have found, there are tricks, though, to help you become more objective. So I just finished doing another vlog on that. And it's on my website. So when you start off, you do that mix of handwriting. Then when you take your notes, your handwritten notes, and you put them into your computer, you transcribe them, you start seeing things, right? Mm-hmm. And you see more ideas. After you do that, then it's really important that you record it. While you're recording it, when you're or reading it out loud, when you find yourself stumbling across those words, that's your first indication you need to make a change.
That's beautiful.
Then when you listen to the recording, so this is how I gain, when I'm in a tight timeline and there is no time to get a second set of eyes, that's what I'm doing. And then I listen to the recording and I become the audience. It's a magical, it's interesting. Like I've learned to play little tricks on my brain, and you definitely have to let things rest. It's always richer. Collaboration makes things richer. But when collaboration isn't available, then creating distance between your piece and you, somehow working on another one. There's painters I've seen who work on 35 paintings at a time, work on more than one article or book at a time. They feed each other, right? While you're doing the other one, so you go, oh, then I could do this for this one. Right. So again, it's just little tricks you can do to gain some objectivity.
I really like that idea, because I have encouraged clients who are terrible writers to actually speak their book, take it and get it transcribed, and then come back. And sometimes that's all they need is when they get to see that piece of that stuff written right there in front of them. And then it just changes it, because now they've got something substantial that now they can dig in and put it together. Because
you know what else too? I always find people are always better at critiquing somebody else's work. So by doing that, when it comes back to them, it seems like it's somebody else's work, right?
Oh yeah, you can see a whole lot of mistakes. Yeah, and it also gives you an opportunity it actually helps you to really improve both on your writing skills and your communication skills, because you realize how many pieces that you might have missed. And in everyday life, we don't always think about these things. We just, okay, I've got it, whatever. But this is beautiful. Well, we really appreciate your taking the time with us. Is there anything else that I've missed or that I didn't ask you wanted me to ask? What would you,
I guess the last tip I would give Becky is that for writers to see themselves as athletes. And that's the premise behind the book, Freelance Writer's Anatomy, is to teach, to help authors learn that they're in training, like to treat, with writers who make that mistake where we think it's magic. And instead of realizing if you were an athlete, you would understand what you had to do, when you had to do it, and you would work at it every day. For writers, consider yourself an athlete. And so that book provides really a workout routine with all those practical tips, but it's your workout routine every day to hone and develop those skills, just like
Right.
an author.
Very good. Well, we will share the link to both your website and to your book. Is your book on your website, or would you prefer them to go to Amazon?
It's on my website and on Amazon as well.
Okay, very good. We'll send the link, and we'll make sure the cover is up there so that they can pick up this copy, because I want to read it too, because it looks fascinating, because of what I do for a living.
Yes.
Working with so many authors, I need a little brush up from time to time too.
Excellent. No, we can all learn from each other. It's never ending.
Very good. Well, on behalf of all the authors out there,
Yes.
and I'll share this also to your page, but on behalf of all the authors out there, please be sure to really stop and listen to this, and to know that this is what this whole interview is about: authors helping authors to be successful, because there's not one of us that don't have a story right inside of us that needs to be told and should be told, because we can share our expertise with our business expertise, but we can also share life expertise from what we've learned from life. And it is so important to do that, because being able to share a story that will maybe help somebody have just a little bit of perspective differently, that can change everything for them, is so important. And that's what we're here for, to do.
And totally agree. Couldn't agree more, Becky, with that. I mean, to read books, it really helps us evaluate, think. It evokes those some things we may not have thought of. So it's a continual learning, and we're all lifelong learners.
We are, and the value of that is that one of the things that I feel like in our world, it is a fast-paced world, and our world has changed so much with just the technology that's available to us. We didn't have computers how many years ago? And here we are, and we're talking as if you're in Canada, I'm in Arizona, and we're able to have these kind of conversations almost like we're in each other's living room. Not quite, but the beauty of it is that we get to really connect with each other. And sometimes we get bombarded with too many things going on, and we don't realize the full scope of the beautiful time we're really living in, and the awareness that we're here to help each other. We're here to make a difference in each other's lives, and we have it at our fingertips right now. So that
is the beauty of technology, is that connecting the learning, and just broadening that availability and ability.
Very much, yes.
Yep.
So on behalf of Spotlight on Your Business and Spotlight Publishing, thank you for listening with us today. We'll be sharing this out. And thank you, Louise, for just having the heart to be here and sharing your wisdom today.
Well, and thank you for inviting me. Much appreciated. Wish you all the best, Becky, and with your work with your authors. And let's just keep helping each other learn.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Authors hire Becky and Natalie of Spotlight Publishing for their guidance in treating their book as their business. Many authors have no idea where to start, how to market themselves, nor how to have a successful book launch reaching #1 bestseller. This often leads to discouragement and disappointment. Spotlight Publishing works with their authors to get seen, get read, and get paid for their knowledge and expertise. For more information, go to www.spotlightonyourbusiness.com. Spotlight Publishing. Your book is your business.